Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webinar that we're running on adopting AI in the workplace. This is a follow-up and bite-sized introduction to what we talked about in our recent seminar at the Microsoft offices recently in London. I will start just by giving myself a quick introduction for those that don't know me, and just a heads up, my camera won't be on today, just we're trying to preserve connection speeds as much as possible here. So I'm Isaac. I've been at ADM for just under 5 years. I started in the business development team and then moved across to sales and account management. And now I'm working primarily with marketing, brand development, and also, of course, being the ADM's resident public speaker. So I'm looking forward to providing you with the knowledge to go forth and adopt AI. Let's kick it off then with the agenda. So we're going to be starting with a brief and simplified introduction to AI. So what actually is it? How can it help? Then we're going to be covering some AI tools and also some top tips. There's so many AI tools out there. Which one do you choose? Over then to Microsoft Copilot, the big one, of course. I'm going to be doing a live demo of Copilot from the end user's perspective, so you can see exactly what it's like once you've got the license. Then I'm going to touch on security and data use. It's going to be quite a light touch on this, just sort of pulling the key points from Microsoft's security and data use policies. And then I'll wrap up with some final points. And of course, if we do have time, I can jump into a short Q&A session as well. Now, you can ask questions during this webinar in the Q&A box. You'll find that at the top of your screen, especially if you're using the Microsoft Teams desktop application. And it's labeled Q&A with two little speech bubbles and a question mark. So you can click on that anytime, pop your question in the chat, and then we'll see it. So for those that don't know as well, ADM Computing. Who are ADM Computing? Well, support and guidance is our main focus. Of course, customers being at the heart of everything we do. We actually have over 99% positive feedback and 97% client retention in the past 5 years. Expertise. All of ADM's technical staff spend at least 1 day a month on training and development. And our IT support team holds over 450 technical certifications, including 250 Microsoft certifications. That makes us one of the most certified Microsoft Gold partners in the UK. We were established in 1984, and we've been doing this successfully for 40 years. We're very close to hitting our 40-year anniversary in May, and we're quite excited about it. One of the longest running IT support companies around. So I'm going to start this session off with a quote from Stephen Hawking. Success in creating AI could be the biggest event in the history of our civilization. But what actually is AI? So AI, I'm sure you're aware, stands for artificial intelligence. It's defined by the Oxford Dictionary as the capacity of computers or other machines to exhibit or simulate intelligent behavior. Now, that sounds great, but it isn't really the sum of it. AI as we know it today can do all manner of things. Most people think of AI as a chatbot or a voice assistant, but it's evolved. It's now a lot more than that. So, for example, just a bit of a fun example here, I can go online and put an image of myself into an AI avatar maker. And after a couple of seconds of processing, it will spit these out. So there's quite a few interesting examples there, particularly that one in the middle. I don't know what's going on there, but it pulled that from the image of me, processed it, and turned it into these 4 separate images. So that's quite interesting. That's a fun use case for you. Pi, I don't know if anyone's heard of this. So this is a new form of AI chatbot designed specifically to assist you, not with your work or productivity, but with your own mental well-being. And Pi utilizes both human-style language and human-sounding speech. And it can also help provide resources, motivation, and support. And another completely different style of modern AI is something called Sora. So you definitely may have heard of Sora as it's made news recently. And this creates lifelike video from scratch with just a prompt. Take a look at some of these as an example. So you can see here a drone view of waves crashing against the rugged cliffs along Big Sur's Grey Point Beach. It's a bit of a mouthful, but there's the prompt, and you can see it's generated an almost lifelike video there. It might be a little bit laggy on your screen, but I can assure you if you go onto their website, it is smooth. What about this with animation? You can imagine these huge animation companies creating almost lifelike, films and TV programs with this. This is one of my favorite. This impressed me hugely. So this is a young man in his 20s sitting on a piece of cloud in the sky reading a book. It's quite a short prompt, but it is so realistic. It's unbelievable. Then finally, one more example, you have 11 Labs. And 11 Labs are a rapidly growing startup for AI text-to-speech, translation and transcription. They're currently working with publisher HarperCollins to create a line of AI-read audiobooks. You may not recognize any of these, but most of you will recognize this. So this is OpenAI's ChatGPT, probably one of the most talked about AI tools there is, and certainly what's brought AI into the forefront of everyone's mind. So ChatGPT, the way it works, is it works off an LLM, which is a large language model. In simple terms, it's a type of program that specializes in understanding and generating human-like text based on the information it's been trained on. So think of it having read a huge number of books, articles, and websites, and then using all of that knowledge to answer questions and hold conversations. It is quite conversational as well, so it tries to predict the next word or sentence that makes the most sense in the context of the conversation you're having with it. One of the biggest things to remember with this, though, especially when using any AI tool or program, is this quote: garbage in, garbage out. And that's never been truer than since the rise of tools like ChatGPT, Microsoft's Copilot, and Google's Gemini. So I'll give you a quick example of this. If I just put into ChatGPT, write a social post for ADM talking about our new starter, John. This is what it comes out with. So I won't read all of this, but exciting news from the ADM family. We're thrilled to welcome John Doe to the ADM team. That's fine. He has a wealth of experience in, we've had a stop there. He's made significant contributions to, again, we've had a stop there. You've got to put in his specific achievements or projects. As our new blank, he will play a pivotal role. So it's very generic. And then it's gone off on a tangent, complete tangent, about sustainability and how he's going to make sure we're nourishing the world in a safe, responsible and sustainable manner. And that's not really us. I mean, we do have our sustainable approaches, but that isn't our entire company. So this really doesn't align with what we really want to see. So this is an example of a much better prompt. This is the way I do it. This is my framework for it. So I've now said John is a starter at ADM. ADM is an IT managed service provider. John will be joining ADM as a second line engineer, and he has a wealth of experience in delivering excellent customer service and unparalleled IT support. Please draft a LinkedIn post celebrating John joining the ADM family. So it's still simple, it's still succinct and short, but it will give you a much, much, much better response. So you can see here, we're thrilled to announce the latest addition, John. He'll be joining us as a second line engineer with a rich history of delivering outstanding customer service and bringing his expertise and enthusiasm. Commitment to excellence and client satisfaction remains unwavering. And we're excited about the new perspectives and innovative solutions he'll bring to our project. So it really does fit much more. It's even giving you the correct hashtags here, IT support, customer service excellence, all of the right things are hitting. I want to break this down to show you exactly how I came up with this prompt and why it works. So let's start off with the top line here. John is a new starter at ADM. ADM is an IT managed service provider, and John will be joining ADM as a second line engineer. So that is the opening context. That's really important. You want to give it opening context because at the end of the day, if you don't give it the opening context, it's not going to know what to do with your prompt. Next, John has a wealth of experience delivering excellent customer service from blank, and it's unparalleled IT support from blank. And that is the relevant background information. And again, a hugely important part of this, because if you don't give it the relevant background information, you're going to get a prompt very similar to the first one, where it starts going off on a tangent and trying to fit in the blanks with random information. And then finally, the most important bit, please draft a LinkedIn post celebrating John joining the ADM family. And that is the request itself. So it's actually quite simple when you break it down. You've got your opening context, your relevant background information, and the request or the prompt itself. And once again, this is the prompt here. So quite important, as I said, remember garbage in, garbage out. You want to put in as much information as possible, really get the AI generator to know what you're talking about. You want to give it as much context, as much information as you possibly can, and then it will generate something good for you. And again, leaning on the subject of AI here, and especially things like ChatGPT and Copilot, you want to make sure you're treating it almost like you would a colleague. So Microsoft actually say in some of their documentation, they have known to be publicly saying it, you actually want to be polite to this AI. You want to say please and thank you, and it makes it give better responses. Because AI at its heart can be rude, it can be lazy. You really want to be as clear as possible when you're presenting information to it. Because remember, at the end of the day, it is AI, it's not a human. So treat it like human, get a more human response. So on to the big one. Microsoft invested a rumored 13 billion into OpenAI, the company who created ChatGPT. So they bandy around a lot of buzzwords with Microsoft Copilot: productivity, efficiency, creativity, its powerfulness, it's all there. But the question I get most is, what does it actually do? And I hope to help with that today. This is really my task here. I want to make sure you all understand Copilot in a better way. So, Microsoft Copilot, what's it actually do? Well, first and foremost, it's a chatbot, similar to GPT, answering your questions, helping you draft things, all of that standard stuff. But that's really where the comparisons of using GPT and Microsoft Copilot end. It does a lot more than that. It has full integration with all the most commonly used 365 applications. And that means it can help you create full Word documents or presentations with just a prompt. It can help you analyze Excel documents, data, and assist you in making sure you're maximizing the use of all your applications. Now, the only true way to show you the true power of this is by actually opening it up and showing you. So we're going to jump into a live demo now. Just going to check questions. I don't see anything there. So we're going to jump into a live demo. The screen will stop for a moment and then it will come back. So just bear with me while I open up the Word document for the demo. Okay, so we should be back into the sharing now. Yeah, perfect. So this is what you'll see if you are using a Copilot license that's already assigned to you. This is an example in Word to start off here. So I'm going to just try and open that full screen here. Okay, so this is Word. Now you can press Alt-I and that will let you draft with Copilot. So this is, again, similar to the AI chatbot, similar to your ChatGPT, but it does put it all formatted correctly into a nice tidy Word document. And the difference between this and something like ChatGPT is that you can start actually referencing files and having it all secure and wrapped around in your environment, which I will touch on later on. So here's an example. I've created a fictional company called Drift Aviation. Just actually seen a comment there come through. AI is great for creating image or video content, but it could be argued that AI is almost pointless for generating written content due to how much information you need to give it a decent output. Isn't it easier to put the effort into creating the output ourselves rather than learning how to give it what it needs? Yeah, so this is a really interesting point, and this is something that I talked quite heavily on in my seminar that I did recently. Thanks for your question, by the way. So this is my thoughts on it, and I will touch on this in quite a lot more detail later. But AI should really be seen as an assistant and not a replacement. And I will hammer that in a lot later on in this session. But the time required to give your prompt is actually quite minimal in the grand scheme of things. So let's just think of an example here. So if you're doing a 12-page proposal document that I'm about to show you what you could do with that, in real time, that's going to take you quite a while, and your draft quality is going to go from, reasonably okay to possibly better, and you're going to have to redraft it and reword it a few times to get it bang on what you want it to be. I think that's fair to say, at least I do. So with AI, it will at least give you that baseline, and it will probably start, rather than sort of okay, it will probably start at more of a good quality document, which you can just tweak to your desired effect. So it really is an assistant that helps you, speed things up. Its main purpose is efficiency here. So we do want to make sure that we're utilizing it correctly to get the most out of it. Then again, it doesn't work for everyone. And some people, don't like AI, or don't want to adopt AI, and that's absolutely fine. But this is sort of the main purpose of it. And the use cases, yes, I will. And also, I've noticed that, sorry, I'll send out some slides and resources following the presentation as well later today. I hope that's answered your questions just a little bit. Obviously, I'll touch on this in more detail later. If you have any other questions, feel free to pop them back in the Q&A, and I'll see them as they pop up. So let's draft with Copilot. So for example, as that person mentioned there, how much information do you need to give it? We can say here, ADM Computing are an IT managed service provider based in Kent. Please draft a proposal document for a prospective customer, and then I'll put Drift Aviation, which is the fictional company I've come up with, making use of this reference document. And then I can put a slash in here and actually reference the file that I want to talk about, which is the Drift Aviation bio, which I will talk about later. This isn't me being biased. This is just me wanting to show you how you can bring files into play as well. So I'll show you what I've done in that bio in a moment. So if I click generate there, it will start working on a draft. It's not immediate. It will take a few moments, but you can see it's looking through information in that previous document to determine what it really wants to put out on that page as the proposal. So it's already picked up that we're an IT managed service provider. So you can see it's got proposal for IT managed services. You can see the two company names, ADM Computing and Drift Aviation. And then it's going to kick off what lots of proposals kick off with, using its wealth of research, which is an executive summary, talking about ADM Computing and talking about Drift Aviation. It's going to say the proposed contract will cover the following services: cloud migration, cybersecurity assessment, monitoring, backup recovery, IT support. That's all correct. Duration of 12 months. We don't tie people in, but there are a lot of IT companies that would, and that would align with what they want to do. Monthly fees, all of these figures, it's kind of pulled from nowhere, obviously, but you can go in and tweak these. That's the point. So you're not asking AI to generate a whole document for you that you're going to immediately send off to the customer. That would be a terrible idea. But you've got the main points that it's here. So if I scroll down, background objectives. So it's a company that provides a range of aviation services, including flight training, aircraft maintenance. This is all correct based off that bio that I fed into it. Here we go. It's pulled out some IT challenges: outdated and incompatible systems, lack of data backup and recovery, vulnerability to cyber attacks, insufficient IT support. Funnily enough, I didn't put any of that in the bio. So again, AI can sort of wander off itself and go in any direction it wants, and it's very convincing at it. So you do need to comb through the information. There you go. Over 30 years. We're actually over 40 years, but it doesn't know that. I haven't given it the information. It has got that we're based in Kent, which I gave it at the start in the prompt as well. And there's a little bit about ADM that it's come up with. You can see it's actually worked on aviation companies such as Air Charter Service, Jet2, and London Executive Aviation. So it's pulled some random information here and put it into the document, because to be fair, all I've asked it to do is create a proposal for this random company that I've created and given it a bio for. At the end of the day, this is a pretty good output for that prompt. Here's proposed services. So it wants to do cloud migration. And then it actually talks about Microsoft Azure, which is something we use. Scalability, security, and reliability. Management and optimization of the cloud. Backup and recovery. IT support, 24/7, 365. IT training and guidance. So all of the bits are there. And then it's even done like a little terms and conditions bit and a benefits and value proposition. So, and I will say what's quite interesting about this is that I've generated a document like this for this presentation a few times now. So I've done some test ones and I've done some live. The last live one I generated in the seminar was pretty awful. And then I regenerated it with the same prompt and it came out much better. So it does change every time. And if you miss out one word that you might have put in another prompt, it will change that whole thing completely. So something to note there, that's what it looks like. You can then go in once you've generated it as it is conversational, and you could say, here's an example, make it formal, make it casual. You know, you can change the whole tone of the document just with one prompt. Now, I'm going to keep this one and I'm going to show you what I would then do next. So now I've got this base document out, I would then go into review, and then I would click on editor. So it will give me a nice editor score. This is just in the base Word program anyway. So 96%, 90, you can see it's dropping a little bit. But once it's assessed it, it will give me an editor score, and then you can check for the tone. So if I go to casual, you can see it's actually more casual than it is formal. So that's not great because we want it to be professional at the end of the day. And 91% is an okay score. So spelling, tick, good. That sometimes, so in the seminar, we did have a few spelling mistakes, as people who are in the seminar will remember. Grammar, there's 10 points that I need to check, and you can actually work through these 10 points and say, oh, okay, that's right, or that's not right, and you can work through those. Then you've got clarity. So again, making sure that we've got the most simple terms for the reader to understand, and it's got different options here. So in case of a disaster, I might want to change it to that. We'll have an option, we'll have a possibility, a way, a choice. You get the gist. Conciseness, formality, inclusiveness, tick, 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 tick. And then you've got here as well, faces several IT challenges, specific numbers or examples where they impact to a resume, but we're not doing a resume. Vocabulary, tick. Similarity, you can actually check for similar sources online. I don't know how accurate this is because most of the times I've done it, it's come up with nothing. We'll see if it comes up with something here, but it will check across online sources for how similar your document is to somewhere else as well. We'll let it do that for a moment. And then you've also got document stats at the bottom there, which I'll show you just after this similarity check finishes. There you go. So it's saying 0% of your text is similar to online sources. I don't know how accurate that is. You might need to try it for yourselves. And then insights, document stats here. So this is the standard stuff you see when you go into review a document as well. So that's what I would do following that. I would bring up the editor and pull it all together and check. And then I would work to improve that editor score and also make sure I read through every little bit, tweak it to how I want it to be. And I probably, to be perfectly honest with you, wouldn't use it for something like a proposal. Or what I might do is I might open up Word and say, can you draft, the key objectives for a proposal, for an IT proposal, referencing this source, which says, top 10 best proposals ever. You get the gist. So that's a little bit in Word. I'm going to jump into PowerPoint now and show you what it does in there. So I've got a blank presentation here. Oh, before I do that, I better show you what the bio looks like. So let me open that up. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment here. So hope you can still hear me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check for the bio just to show you the example of what I've used. So bear with me. I'm now going to reshare my screen. Okay, hoping you can all hear that and see that now. So yeah, the bio that I've generated is this, and funnily enough, this was actually done with Copilot as well, because I couldn't sit there for 20 minutes and create a fictional bio of a fictional company. But Drift Aviation, a company biography, and then it's given an introduction to it, history. It was born out of a local flying club in London, England. They realised there was a gap in the market. Personal flexible aviation services, the general stuff you see on websites. So I pulled that together, saved it as a bio. It's only 2 pages long, so it's really not a huge, crazy amount of information. And if you'd like to see this after, I can also send this across as a resource as well. But that's all I'm using when I'm pulling in those files. And I'm going to use the same example in a PowerPoint now as well. So if I take that biography, let's just pull this across. There we go. So If I now open up Copilot in PowerPoint, I can then say, create a presentation based on, and then again, I can reference my file, drift aviation proposal or bio. So this is the previous proposal I did. We'll go for the bio because you've just seen that. So I'm going to send that across to Copilot in PowerPoint. Now this one does take a few moments. Presentations take much longer than Word documents to generate, but you'll see it as it goes. So it's now drafting the presentation based on that file, and you can see it's already giving me the bullet point outline for what it's going to do for the presentation. And to be honest, that's a feature that I really like, because who gets so sick and tired of sitting there looking at a loading bar and nothing happening? Here, at least you can see that it's doing it. So there you go. Actually, that was quite fast for the PowerPoint Copilot. So you can see here's a draft. Again, it's referencing draft, so it's not meant to be the final be all end all. I've drafted 6 slides and made some changes to your doc. Included speaker notes, which I'll touch on in a minute because that's really impressive. Added images to make your deck more engaging, and applied layouts to organize slides. So, and you can also use Designer, which I'll touch on in a moment. But here's the base presentation. So you've got an agenda there, you've got your introduction, and you'll see in these speaker notes here, you can see it says Drift Aviation is a company, blah, 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 blah. But you've got the original content, so the actual piece of the document that it's pulled it from. So it's turned it more into a presentation note that you can read on the fly. So if I really wanted to, I could go straight into this and present this now for you without probably any hesitation because I've got all my speaker notes there. So that's quite interesting. History, growth and expansion. So it's all there. But let's say I want to jazz this up a little bit. So let's go on the growth and expansion page, and I'll go on to the designer here. So there you go. So you've got quite a few options. I like that picture. That's quite good. So you can put in the picture immediately, or you might want to do it like that. And you can add your transitions and effects and all of the stuff that you want to add in. So it's really interesting, the presentation side of things, because it does speed up time a little bit, especially if presentations aren't your forte and you haven't done many of them. You can draft a presentation in seconds here, for example, with this one, and then just tweak it slightly to fit what you want it to fit, especially for internal meetings. It's fantastic. Again, this is something I'm not sure is quite ready yet for use as a public speaker, just from my own perspective here, and going into sort of big conferences and things and doing presentations to many people in the masses, because you have to stay ahead of the game here a little bit and make your presentations more engaging, and that does sometimes require a bit of a personal touch or a flair. But as a base example, it's a really, really, really good example. So there you go. There's a draft of a presentation. Excel, this is an interesting one as well. So here's another thing I just generated randomly. So if I actually find the correct file here, drift aviation device info. So with this one, let's go into that table. So you can see I've created a table here which has device type, device ID, username, user email, how old it is. So there's all sorts of information there. At this moment in time, I know they're planning on doing it in June or July, I think, but Excel only supports Copilot in preview. So if we open up the Copilot preview, it also means that it only works off a table, and it doesn't always work off that table, but it is in preview mode, so we'll excuse it as it is sort of a beta here. But if you look at this table, I could say, for example, well, let's use this example here, show data insights. This is a good one. So let's go show data insights, and then it will pick up the key data points of this table. So it's understanding the data now, analyzing it, here we go. And then in a matter of moments, it should come across, there you go, device age in days. So this is a good enough information for me. And you can see it's generated a little piece here. The average age of devices by type is as follows. Laptop have an average age of 270 days. Phones have an average age of 322 days. Tablets 303 and desktops 296. So that's quite interesting. And I could even pull in that table to a new sheet as well. So this is quite good. I have heard someone who came to my seminar recently said that this was one for the web. It worked better in the web version of Excel, so do try that if you've got a Copilot license assigned to you. But yes, that is the Excel as it stands at the moment. So I could then pull in that data and I could say, are there any outliers? So I'm just using example prompts here, but you could you get the gist of what I'm doing. So let's have a look at this. It's analyzing. Bear with me. Just while it's doing that, I've seen another comment, only works with Excel files saved in OneDrive too, or has that changed now? Good question. I think it does work with the OneDrive files. I'm not sure if it's changed just yet. I think Copilot is a bit like that. It really likes that Microsoft ecosystem, but I can check for you at the end and maybe come back to you via email. Just for reference, what I'm going to do is when I send out the slides, I'll send out a feedback form, because at the moment I only see your names as anonymous. And in that feedback form, you have the option to pop your email down or your name if you want to follow up a conversation about it, or you have any specific questions that I can reach out to you and answer. But yeah, I think it is just OneDrive at the moment. So there you go. So it's come up with something. Didn't find any relevant data. Doesn't always work. It is the beta. Try adding more data or using another data set. Now, what's interesting about the Excel variation is that just because it is in beta, if you open up a blank workbook and try and open Copilot, as I said, it only works in tables. So it will say, first, you need autosave. There you go. There's your answer to the OneDrive thing. So let's save it as book 1. And then it will come on and say, you actually need an Excel table. So you need an Excel table for the sheet to continue. If you want to see an example, I have one ready for you. So you can try an example of that table there. And there you go. There's the example table. So it'll pull across an example table, which you can then start analyzing. But from my experience, even those example tables, can be a bit here and there. So that's the Excel side of things. If we then jump into Outlook, I want to show you the really powerful feature you can use here. So I've got a fictional chain of emails with my colleague here talking about Drift Aviation. So he's acting as the boss from Drift Aviation, and I'm the IT advisor. And we're having a little bit of a conversation about lunch and next action points and things following a meeting we've recently had. Now, one of the really useful things you can do with this is you can actually summarize your email chain. So if I hit summary by Copilot, there you go, it's looking for key points, combing through the information, pulling things together, and here comes the summary. Give it a few more seconds. Sometimes it can be a bit funny. As I said, this, if I haven't stressed enough, obviously this is a new product. Microsoft do bring out new products quite often, and the updates come sort of later on once it's been launched. So sometimes it can be a little bit funny. I'm also on Wi-Fi at the moment rather than hardwired in, so we'll see if this picks it up or not. While waiting on that, I'll just have a look at any questions. I think we're good at the moment. Yeah, nothing has come up there. Lovely stuff. Oh, almost there. At least it's giving us some live feedback here. What I might do, just because this usually is quite quick, is I'll stop that generating and try one more time. Okay, doesn't look like he's going to play ball today. What I'll do is I'll send you a screenshot of what it shows you. Basically, it will come up with a nice little summary point with bullet points. It's probably my favorite way to use Copilot at the moment. If you have a really long email chain spanning 20, 30 emails, which I hope you don't, but you can pull that summary across and it will give you all the key bullet points saying, Scott asked this, Isaac said this, you agreed that you might meet on this date, this is where you're going. So it's all really easy stuff. There you go. You thanked Scott for the meeting early this morning and summarised the action points. You'll send a quote for 16 laptops on Monday morning and review the proposal to align it more with their business and budget. Scott confirmed that you covered everything and asked if the meeting on Wednesday would be in person or over Teams. You suggested meeting in person and asked for lunch recommendations near their office. Scott recommended a restaurant called, here it is, Moe's Tavern, near their office, and you agreed to meet there around midday. So all of the information that I need is there. In a nice little summary. And bear in mind, generally that doesn't take 2-3 minutes. Generally with summaries in Outlook, it takes all of 10 seconds. So I just click summarize and then pop, there goes the summary. and I can use that and reference it as I'm having another conversation with them. You will see here AI generated content may be incorrect. That's something to always keep an eye on. As of yet, I haven't seen it pull anything from Outlook that has been incorrect. Let's now jump into Teams, because this is where it gets really fascinating. So you can have meetings like you usually do on Teams, but if you pull up Copilot, again, this is on that drift aviation side of things, you can actually recap the meeting, and it will give you nice little key action points. So if I recap the meeting here, what it's going to do is it's going to kind of comb through the transcript of the meeting. So you have to have it recording and have the transcript on. It's going to comb through that, pull back out the data, and give me the key topics. So devices, Isaac will send a quote for 16 new laptops to Scott by Monday. Servers and infrastructure, Isaac will review the proposal and see if he can lower the cost with Scott. And public speaking, Isaac and Scott shared their experiences and challenges as public speakers. So it's even pulled in a nice little point there on public speaking. So it really does give you everything that you need to know. You could even, if it is missing something, you can sometimes just prompt it again and say, can you please check if there's any other key points? But usually it's not. Let's actually try that now. Can you check for any other tasks assigned? No, so it needs more conversation. So it's not, you want to use that recap most of the time. But that's really useful, especially if you're joining a meeting late and they've got it on record. You can always jump in and say, can you recap the meeting for me and everything I've missed? And if they've mentioned your name, you'll have your key points and action points right there. So really, really useful stuff. Copilot in Teams works as well throughout the whole of Teams. So you can actually ask it like you would a chatbot questions in a separate tab. Or you can use it to summarize action points or things you've missed in chats themselves. So I can say, tell me everything that Scott's assigned me to do in the last week, and it will pull up a list of information based on that Teams chat. Bear in mind, at the moment, that is only on Teams chats. So it won't pick up previous calls that you've had. It won't pick up previous meetings that you've had. It will only pick up what's in that chat. And if it can't find it, it won't show you. So something to note there, but it will improve and continue to get better. We hope. So that's Copilot in Teams. And then finally, your final form of Copilot is actually an Edge. So this is Microsoft's Edge browser, what used to be called Internet Explorer. You can actually bring up a Copilot here on the right-hand side, and you can ask it things about this page that you're seeing. So I can go on generate page summary, make it precise, and then it will pull that information from that front page of our website. Here's a summary. Company overview. It's been established in 1984. Leader in IT support managed services in the Southeast. Expertise and availability, certifications, accreditations. These are all correct. Client partnership for nearly 2 years. Praises ADM for their efficient, professional, responsive service, highlighting the personal nature of the team across all levels. So everything's there. And then you can actually drill down and say, what services do we offer? So it's going to search there, and it's going to pull the services that we offer. IT support managed services, over 50 technical engineers, yep. IT infrastructure, yes. Certifications, training, so it's touching on those Microsoft certifications again, and accreditations with ISO and environmental policies and management, and everything you need. So it's all there, and you can ask it many questions about that website that you're looking at. So that's a really, really, quite useful way to use it. And everyone who has Business Standard or Business Premium will have this license included in their Microsoft subscription, just completely free of charge added on. So you can use Copilot in Edge already as of today, if you're not already. Unfortunately, there's not one for Chrome yet, unless you're using Microsoft Online and you have a Copilot license assigned to you. So that's a brief touch on Copilot. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen again now. Give me 2 moments. And I'm going to jump back into my presentation. Share. There it is. So let's just jump into. Okay, you should all be able to see that now on screen. Lovely. I don't think there's any more questions just yet. That's absolutely fine. So that is Copilot in a nutshell. There are a few things to note when it comes to data use. So I've tried to trawl the privacy and data use policies a little bit so you don't have to. And I've picked out the key points from those data use and policies. So first of all, it can generate responses anchored in your organizational data, such as user documents, emails, calendar, chats, meetings, and contacts. Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 only surfaces organizational data to which individual users have at least view permissions. This is a hugely talked about one. There was some concern a while ago that what if a user can, log on to Copilot and suddenly see all the pay slips and stuff going through the systems? Well, they can't. They can only see things that they have individual access to. And then finally, Microsoft Copilot, quite an important one. Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 uses Azure OpenAI services for processing, not OpenAI's publicly available services. And the final point here, prompts, responses, and data accessed through Microsoft Graph, which sits at the top of the table, and we can talk more about that if you need to following the session, aren't used to train foundation LLMs, including those used by Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365. And Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 is the Copilot that I'm talking about when I'm referencing Copilot. There is also Microsoft Copilot for Sales and Microsoft Copilot for Service, and you can find out more about those in a blog, which I'll share with you after the session. So that's Copilot and its data use. I will cover the pricing real quick for anyone who doesn't know. So at the moment, Copilot sits at around $30 per user per month. There is a minimum of a 1-year commitment to that, so you do have to pay for the year up front, and there's no trial available as of yet. We're hoping that free trials will become a thing with Copilot as they are with other 365 applications, but we're not sure. The certain licensing requirements, you have to have one of those licenses that you see on screen. Most people who are in this will probably have Business Standard or Business Premium, and it's not yet available for charities, I believe. So just be aware of that. It's either charities or schools. So that's Copilot for 365, and there's the pricing there. I will ask for a moment if there's any questions. I'm just going to keep this on screen for 2 moments before I go on to my next slide while I wait and just see if any questions pop up, because I know there's about 45-second delay. So just bear with me on that. Okay, I'll keep an eye on the Q&A there as I keep going through this presentation. There's not much left now, so if you do have any questions, get them in the chat now and we can make sure to answer them. Right, so a couple of final points to note, and you'll notice that I've used this AI generator ChatGPT. It's something called DALL-E, so D-A-L-L-E, through ChatGPT to create a centerpiece image for this slide as well. So a couple of final points to note. AI is not out there to steal your job. As I've said before, and I will keep hammering home, it's an assistant at the moment, not a replacement. There's nothing to say it won't advance into a level where it can replace your job, but as it stands, it isn't at the moment. When using public AI tools, do not put anything confidential into those public AI tools. So ChatGPT, don't be putting your business data, your date of birth, your private information, because all of that is used for training that LLM, and it's going to continue to do that on ChatGPT. If you have the premium version of ChatGPT, there are some security measures in place. However, we still recommend not to put any confidential or personal data into those services. Now, Microsoft Copilot, on the other hand, as we've looked at in security and data privacy policies, is tied to your organization, and it's not used to train the LLMs. So you can put your work and organizational content into ChatGPT, into Copilot, and not be too worried about it. I can see another question's just popped up. I'm just going to take a scroll down on that one. In Word, can you reference a URL? Interesting point. So I did try to reference a URL, and the answer is no, not really, because what happens is it starts to pull random information. I just think that it can't reference the URLs yet. Weirdly, you can do that on Edge, so I'm not really sure why it hasn't tied into Microsoft Word yet. But at this moment in time, no, is the simple answer. Okay, I think that's that one. So AI, it's not perfect. Probably one of the main points that I'd like you to take away today. It's not perfect, and it is improving, as you've seen today. Sometimes we waited a little longer than we expected. Sometimes the response wasn't perfect, but it will improve, and it's going to improve pretty rapidly. So we need to make sure we're utilising it, adopting it to its fullest, and make sure we're not sort of left behind. As I said, you'll notice the final image for this is AI generated. I recommend you give it a go because it's quite a lot of fun. So do try that out if you haven't already. It's, as I said, it's DALLE, and that can be accessed through ChatGPT. For a bit of fun, I've made some more to finish off before some questions. So here's a dog wearing a top hat and tap dancing. That's quite a fun one. You can see it still hasn't quite got the faces there. AI still struggles with faces and fingers. Not sure why. Aliens have landed on Earth, but they're actually surprisingly friendly and not as scary as everyone thought. So there's that one. That's pretty scary. So again, faces not fully there yet. It's funny, I do use the AI image generators for certain content. We'll all probably know the story of the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory exhibit that happened in Glasgow that went awfully wrong, and the guy had used AI to generate the entire thing. You know, again, it's about prompting correctly and making sure you're not using, you know, what he did wrong is he used it as a replacement and not an assistant. He made it create all his scripts. He used it for all the marketing material and all the advertisements. So again, make sure it's an assistant. There's the final one for you who've been waiting for that one. That's the Microsoft offices having been stormed by monsters in the form of various fruits. So all that's left to say, I think we've kind of a little bit short here, which is actually probably quite a good thing because it means you can get back to your days. But thank you all for joining this session today. I will jump onto the any questions slide in case you have any. Stick around for a little Easter egg preview for a little bit of a fun one that I've made, and I'm just going to wait for any questions to come through. What I'll do is I'll keep on this screen for around a minute or two, and then I'll commence to the final slide, which is a little fun one for you all if you're interested. But I will hold here for just 1 minute or 2 minutes to check if there's any questions that do come through. Okay, so I think we're all good there. It means I've done a good job if there's no questions coming through, so I'll take it. What I will do at the end, as I said, later on today, you'll get a copy of the slides and also a link to a feedback form, which I highly encourage you to fill out because it does make these events the best they can be. We had a hugely successful seminar running this with my colleague Nathan, who's a third-line engineer. And it was a fantastic session. So if you can ever get to the live in-person things, I do recommend them. For any other events that are coming up, do check our website. That's adm-computing.co.uk/events. And finally, you can check our blog for some more information on AI. So if you go to adm-computing.co.uk/blog, you'll see a blog that I'm pretty proud of that I worked hard on. Not generated in AI, you'll be glad to know, that covers all things ChatGPT, Copilot, and a lot of that I've talked about in this session as well. I can see Matt there has popped a question in. Thank you for your time, Matt. I appreciate it. Good site I stumbled across for adapting logos into more interesting images. Yeah, this one's a fun one, actually. I have had a look at this. That's krea.ai/apps/images/logos. Nathan, could I get you to publish that, please, that question, just so people can have a play with that? If you click publish in the down, sorry, just there, yeah. Yeah, so Nathan's going to publish that question now, so you can have a play around with that if you want to, and I'll get him to publish the other questions as well, just so you can see the other questions there. So yes, yeah, that's a fun one to play around with for sure. Right, so thank you for patiently waiting here. I'm going to give you a little treat now, a bit of fun. And this is a song I generated entirely from AI in an app called Suno. So enjoy this one as the outro, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.
He's got a vision, he's on a mission to spread the word about AI. Listen, webinar in session, got the world's attention, teaching about artificial intelligence invention. He's got a PowerPoint, slides on the screen, explaining algorithms, yeah, it's a dream, breaking it down for everyone to comprehend. Isaac's the man, his knowledge is the trend. Welcome to the webinar, it's an AI wonderland. Isaac's gonna take you by the hand, learning all about the future, oh so grand. In this wonderland with Isaac's command. In this wonderland with Isaac's command.